country. The back.
What is it that you believe that the state can do to fix what you clearly believe to be broken that the locals haven't done? What can you do as a state that the locals haven't done?
Well, we're talking about a commitment, really, of the state to dealing with some of the perceptions that have developed over time and to creating an atmosphere where private industry feels a sense of confidence, stability, and certainty regarding their investment. This public-private partnership will be funded almost entirely by private money. Now, to attract that private money, we need to give them not only modernization of the regulation of the casino industry, which is a vitally important part of this plan, but also we need to give them the sense that there is an overarching vision that will be enforced by the highest elected official in this state. And that's exactly what I intend to do. Julie?
This morning you described...
Good drive, Julie. You were, me and you, the only two people here that were both in the Meadowlands. That's pretty good work.
This morning you described yourself as someone who's reluctant to see a state takeover of anything, but how is it wrong to describe this as a potential state takeover? And how would you compare or contrast with, say, Camden?
Well, you can't compare Camden and Atlantic City. You just can't on a whole bunch of levels, because what you have in Camden is a dearth of investment for decades and decades and decades, and decay that's come along with it. In Atlantic City, you have a recent and acute crisis that needs to be dealt with. So they're two totally different situations. What I believe state involvement and partnership will do in Atlantic City is to be able to provide a business atmosphere and a circumstance that will entice people to come in and commit, billions of dollars of private capital to help create jobs and to help enhance the investment that's already here. You don't have a lack of investment historically in Atlantic City. What you have is an acute crisis that was brought on, in my view, by the state's collective reluctance to modernize and change with changing competitive circumstances that were happening around us. Now we need to do it. And now we need to do it in short order because we've let too much time slip by not doing it. And so I know the way New Jersey works. I've lived here all my life. If you don't have gubernatorial leadership on these things, it makes it much, much more difficult to get it done. With gubernatorial leadership, you have things that are much more possible. And so, some people, like I said, will call it over-aggressive. Some people will say it's too bold. I'll live with those criticisms. I'll live with those criticisms because in the end, if we're standing here 3, 4, 5 years from now with cranes up and down this area, with new building going on, with family entertainment surrounding us, with the sense of this boardwalk, a boardwalk that would be vital not only with adults but with children, with families of all ages. If that's what we come to and see that beach crowded with people who are here not only to enjoy the gaming that happens in these casinos, but also to enjoy the beautiful beaches and the other entertainment we'll provide for them in a clean and safe environment, then, I think those criticisms will fade. Zach?
Some have described it, though, as a city within a city. Would you characterize it that way?
No, I wouldn't. I don't know who did, but I wouldn't. My view on it is this is now a partnership that has to occur with everybody who holds a stake in this city. But someone, in the end, if the state is asking private industry to come in here and make significant investments to improve the economic condition of our state and to also be profitable for them, someone's got to be in charge of that. And I think it takes state leadership to do that and to get it done, especially in these difficult economic times. If the world was awash in money, Zach, maybe it wouldn't matter. But people now have limited capital resources that they're making very careful decisions about how to deploy. We want to make this the most attractive option they have, given the infrastructure we already have here and the natural resources that we have that are here to be able to be utilized and exploited. And so I would call it a partnership that needs leadership from the top in order to ensure that these folks have some sense of certainty as to their investment. And over, Christian. Yep.
How will the state benefit overall from keeping that 1.25% of CRDA money that they collect here in Atlantic City? It's going back to
Yeah, listen, the report says that, and I agree with it. The CRDA money should stay here. It should stay here. Well, listen, the rest of the state benefits because if you think the state isn't doing poorly when you have double-digit unemployment in the southern part of our state, then you think somehow the state is divisible, and it is not. And all the things that happen in the southern part of the state have a positive economic effect on the north and vice versa. And lastly, the northern part of the state has benefited, I think, at times disproportionately from that CRDA money that was generated here. So it's time to both acknowledge and confront changed circumstances. And while sharing CRDA money around the state may have been a good idea 25 years ago, it's not a good idea anymore. And so we have to put aside our parochial interests and our geographic interests. And this is a speech as much to the northern part of the state as it is to the southern part of the state. You know, if we're going to be parochial about this, and we're all just going to kind of protect our little piece of turf, then it's going to fail. But if we understand that we are one state, and that when one part of our state is down, the other part of our state has to help, and vice versa, then we're going to have the kind of growth we need. You have a follow-up.
Do you envision some of that money finishing up that deficit, or helping out?
Listen, I'm not going to, here's one thing I'll guarantee you. I'm not going to be the CEO of the Atlantic City Tourism District, and I'm not going to be a person who's going to be deciding where private investment goes as the governor. What I am intending to do is to create an atmosphere here where someone's going to want to finish Revel. Not because of CRDA, but because of the increased and enhanced business atmosphere that is occurring here in Atlantic City, and because of the certainty that will come from stable leadership from the state. Marcia. Well, I think that this has always been a challenge for Atlantic City in terms of dealing with Atlantic City holistically and to try to improve the entirety of the city and the lot for all of its citizens. That's always been a challenge, and a challenge that, quite frankly, hasn't been met in the main. And I think we see evidence around us all the time of that. So what we need to do first is to enhance and grow the areas that we know we can enhance and grow. That's what we need to do first. And I think that the creation of this type of tourism district that will give people, when they come to visit, the sense that things are moving in the right direction here. This is a place where I feel safe. This is a place where I want to take my children. This is a place where I feel comfortable coming back. We don't want people coming to Atlantic City just once. We want them coming here and coming back and telling their friends and their neighbors that this was a good place to go, and that whatever your perception was of it before, for whatever reason, that is now changing and on its way to permanently being changed. Claire? Well, as members of the legislature will tell you, no law is permanent, Claire, and laws can be changed all the time, and they are changed all the time. Difference between, we just had this conversation, right? The difference between statutory change and constitutional change in a completely different context. But candidly, we can't think about this being temporary or sending a message that it is temporary right now. What we have to do is say we have a problem to fix. Let's give it a sufficient amount of time to get it fixed and the right level of control and partnership in order to get it done. Now, it may come out 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that people look at what's happening in Atlantic City and say the tourism district is no longer needed. Listen, I won't be governor then, so what the heck do I care? You guys want to change that, then go ahead and change it. But my point is, the same way we didn't adjust to the changing circumstances over the course of the past 10 years or 15 years, we would be wrong not to continue to re-examine this. But this plan is about the next 4 to 5 years and what we need to do to turn Atlantic City around in that definition, which by your question is short term. But beyond that, listen, I'm not saying here and saying it's got to be permanent. What I'm saying, though, is that we have to fix it, and the fix needs to be permanent. If the structure around it changes later on, that's up to the people who are sitting in my job and in the jobs of the legislature and the other local leaders at that time. And I'm not going to try to prejudge it for now. Pinky?
Governor, you're standing here and you're looking out behind you where you cannot see the ocean.
Yeah, I can.
Those people that are down there cannot see the ocean.
That's true.
The people walking along cannot see the ocean. We need to get the dunes at least curtailed. You build them at a certain level, it is grown above them. We don't have any breeze walking on the boardwalk. It is dangerous at night. People are out there. They can't be seen. I'm asking you to put in your influence in the Department of Environmental Protection to take a good look at the factor. Let's make it wider and a little bit lower so people can enjoy seeing the ocean while they're on the boardwalk.
Seems pretty logical. We'll take a look at it. I'm surprised you haven't brought that up to me before.
Governor, I just wonder if you could perhaps expand a little bit on the role that local elected officials, the mayor, the city council, etc., might play in these tourism districts going forward.
Well, listen, the local elected officials in Atlantic City are going to have a key role to play in all of this. But the fact of the matter is that if we're asking people to make an investment that is going to bring statewide benefit to the people of the state of New Jersey in this region, then we have to have statewide certainty that's brought to it. And the only person who can bring statewide certainty to these issues is the governor. And so, I have always had a good working relationship with Mayor Langford. We'll continue to. I've had a great relationship as well with the county executive, Denny Levinson, and with the members of the legislature on both sides of the aisle in this region. So we're all going to be working together on this. But if you want to attract private investment, which is the only thing that is going to make Atlantic City grow and prosper, then you have to give them a sense of certainty that, for whatever reason, they do not believe exists now. And so I can't deal with changing that perception. I have to change the perception by going in, giving them a sense of certainty, giving them a partnership in the public-private partnership that we're talking about, so that they also have a legitimate say over the way capital that they're investing is going to be spent to make this city grow and prosper. So, we've always had good relationships with folks. I have here in Atlantic City. We're going to continue to. But in the end, maybe it's my perception of the job. But I was not sent here to be a spectator. I was not sent here just to be a facilitator. I was sent here to be a leader. And I didn't come here to fail. I came here to succeed. And so, I'm going to try to do it the best way I know how to do it. Other people have better ideas. I'm always willing to listen. I think I've shown that over the first 6 months I'm here. And when other people have better ideas, I'm going to listen. But in the end, someone's got to do it. And we've been sitting around waiting for too long, being governed by parochial rivalries, geographic constituencies that have allowed this situation to get to the point where it is now. And I'm not going to let it go on any further. I'm simply not. And I'm going to do everything I can with the power of this office to influence the legislature to get this plan done so that we can stop talking and start doing in Atlantic City. That's what we need to have done.